Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about subconscious mind impressions. What a subconscious mind impression is and how that relates to getting you your manifestations. The key here is to understand that everybody can impress their subconscious mind. It's been happening all the time. And so there's nothing that can prevent you from getting your manifestation if you can simply impress your subconscious mind. If you want to manifest your desires, hit subscribe. What will happen is I release content related to systematic implementation through experimentation with a blank slate over a decade of experience with testing each of these methods, techniques, and ideas and concepts of manifesting. I have been able to ascertain common denominators that work every time. So hit the subscribe button if you want to no longer hope that your manifestations will come, but be able to do it in a predictable way. Impressing the subconscious mind is a topic that is confusing at best. In other words, the subconscious mind is a huge factor with regards to getting a manifestation. You no doubt have heard this term before. Whether you come from a law of attraction, law of assumption, quantum physics style manifestation practice, this concept of the subconscious mind is consistent like a thread through everything. The subconscious mind, when you can refer to, or when talking about the law of assumption, what I can say to make it very simple is the subconscious mind dictates your manifestations. The contents of your subconscious mind will either manifest once or manifest infinitely. The subconscious mind will be impressed by what you hand it. Now, that's either deliberately, accidentally, through judgments, conclusions, memories. But in other words, the majority of your reality is either created by direct imagining or through subconscious beliefs and assumptions. So the subconscious mind ultimately is what determines everything you experience. Now, there is no direct way to look within the subconscious as a ledger or a notebook, but you can accurately generalize, or you can accurately surmise the contents of the subconscious by looking at the world. This is absolutely true, meaning if you want to manifest whatever you want, you can look at what track you are on by observing the outside world. The subconscious mind is everything. So if you imagine something deliberately, if you visualize something, if you affirm something, if you decree something, if you script something, if you feel something, if you hear something within your imagination, deliberately with an intention, meaning imagining the end in one of those techniques, the best you can hope for is that your subconscious mind gets impressed, and what will happen as a result of that, in most cases, is the manifestation will manifest, meaning the desire itself will manifest in time-space, meaning within this realm itself. And so the subconscious is key. The overwhelming majority of our reality is manifestations as well, but not from deliberate imaginal acts. They would come from something else, and those come from your beliefs. And beliefs are not just things that you overtly say, I believe this is true, but rather those things that you even assume subconsciously, things that you naturally assume are true, things that if I asked you, do you believe this thing, you might even say no, but you might expect that this is a phenomenon of life. There's a difference in those things. One would be a deliberate belief, like I believe in human rights. I don't know who wouldn't. But another would be a belief such as, I believe the sun rises each day and sets each night. Now, this you would not even say is a belief. This is just something that happens naturally. This is the type of belief that is meant when we're talking about manifesting. Although it is confused in most literature that I have read, meaning the term belief or assumption is generally confused with something that only has to do with my assumption of myself, like I love myself, or I believe I'm good enough, or I believe I'm funny enough, or I believe I'm handsome enough, or I believe I have good relationships. This is not what is meant by assumptions or beliefs as it relates to manifesting. Neville Goddard goes into this in excruciating detail, and what I have found after systematically testing the entirety of his teachings and lectures is that his description of the assumption is absolutely accurate. And this is all related to how to impress the subconscious mind and how that relates to manifesting, because the assumption itself, as he explains, is not simply how I perceive myself, but is how I also perceive everything in the world as it relates to myself. Meaning, people are nice. Do you think that's a self-concept? Do you think that's an assumption? Do you think that's a belief? Most people would say no. But in the realm of manifesting, which is referring to consciousness, meaning God, or the I am, the self is not just what's in the mind. That's the Joseph's self. But the self is every single function or belief system that exists within the mind itself. So what I believe, how I believe I'm going to be treated, how I believe relationships end generally, how I believe women act generally, how I believe success is attained, how I believe failure is attained, what I believe is difficult in life, is easy in life. And it's not even what I just believe, it's an assumption of truth, such as you could say it's hard to be president, or she will never call me, or he will never be with me. This, or you could even say, go even further and say, it rains in England. This is an assumption. Is this not an assumption? It is an assumption. And the fact that it is an assumption, you can watch what happens when you switch those assumptions. So in other words, these things, these experiences of reality, although we may say they happen prior to our assumptions, they actually are caused by the assumptions. So in other words, I have been to situations, for example, when I moved to California back in 2016, there was a drought that was, years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I have no idea. Now, I was living at that time before that in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and which is a place which does have rain. It does have all the seasons. When I stepped off the plane from New Jersey to California, you can look, it's almost to the minute it started raining, the drought ended. I took my assumptions with me to California. This is simply just the fact that it rains. That would be an assumption of truth. It's not necessarily what I believe wholeheartedly to be true. Now, this is how it applies to manifesting and your ability to create reality. Like I said before, your specific imaginal acts. I manifest being, like say I manifest marriage, or I manifest being rich, or I manifest having a successful business, or being in shape, or some other aspect or feature of life, like relationships in general, friendship, social circle, happiness, sadness. Those can all be essentially trained, transformed, modified, etc. Those all impact reality, can be changed through your manifestation. And the key here, the totality of this whole thing is to say, all of that stuff that you've ever been experiencing is from your assumptions and slightly also from your imaginal acts. So, in other words, the key here is to learn how to impress the subconscious mind so that we can impact our reality in the way that we want to. Say you want a specific person. Say you want to manifest a specific person. Say you want to manifest riches, you want to manifest wealth, you want to manifest happiness. So here is the thing. If you want to manifest and completely control the way in which your reality works, assumptions, beliefs, self-concepts, imaginal acts, all of these things work in unison, meaning together, to get you what you want. And so what we must figure out how to do is impress the subconscious so that the totality of our experience is controlled entirely by us. So whether it's a combination of whether it's a combination of imagining specific things like being married or being rich or being, I don't know, fit or having a good social circle, those are things that you can deliberately imagine to the degree to which you can visualize something or have an inner conversation or script it. And what happens as a result of those are generally one-off single manifestations, which will change. The event will transpire, and then that will like a single event. The rest of reality, like how you're treated, how you feel, how relationships end, how those patterns that have been negatively impacting your life in so many different ways can be altered and changed. Those are assumptions, generalizations, judgments, self-concept, in other terms. With the combination of those two, you can absolutely control and manage your reality in a way that you have complete and total explicit control. So in other words, how do we control this reality? How do we impress the subconscious mind? So if you look at things from a human point of view, the key here is to bring something forth within your sphere of your consciousness and hold it there. That is the general key, the principle that controls everything. The reason this works is because your consciousness, which is different than the mind, your consciousness is I am. That's, in other words, when you say I am Joseph Alai, you're really saying I am conscious of being Joseph Alai. I am aware of being Joseph Alai. So when you say I am, you are citing what is in Exodus called I am. Right? I am, and I am is the name of God. And if you're God, then you're creative. You manifest. So what we have to do is hold something within the sphere of our consciousness, which is God. That is all we have to do. That's another word for another way to phrase to impress the subconscious mind, in other words. So one technique to do this, which is extremely effective, if we're talking about effectiveness, which is something that you should be testing by performing different techniques, right? And by the way, every single person has a consciousness, which means every single person can do every single technique. You would not be able to not manifest through a technique simply because you and your entire self, your consciousness, is God. Now, just as an aside here, this is very critically important to state that the mind is not God, but consciousness in God is God. That's important because an argument that I have heard, a fallacy, is that, well, I believe I can't do it, and since I'm God, then I can't do it. That's not how it works. Your mind is not God, which is where the beliefs are. Consciousness itself is God. So in other words, anything within the sphere of consciousness will be replicated outward, created outward. This is provable by fixing something within the mind and watching how it manifests. It will manifest in the exact nature as you presented it into the imagination, which is into consciousness. So you must depict the reality that you want in the exact nature, in the exact way that you wish it would unfold in this reality. You want to be married? Imagine yourself with a wedding ring on, sitting at the table in a public restaurant with your specific person and them and yourself cheering. So grateful it's our XYZ anniversary. Or you want to be rich. You're driving around in your Lamborghini, you're pulling up to your house, which is a massive mansion. You walk inside, you have your amazing furniture, your paintings, your Van Goghs, your whatever it is that you want. You have your little Rolex on. This is after the end. Now remember, after the end is extremely critical for the reason that I just outlined prior, which was a subtle reference, which is the idea that consciousness itself replicates the contents of your mind, which means it doesn't replicate it and then add more on top of it. No, it will replicate it to a T. And so the point here is to imagine something after it's already been attained within the mind, within the consciousness, and then there's nothing that can prevent you. Nothing that can prevent you from getting your manifestation. Zero. Nothing. What happens if you imagine the middle? Well, you will see each manifestation itself is standalone. It has no knowledge of the outside world or any other manifestation. They will never connect with one another. It's only the current state of reality itself that is taken into consideration that will cause manifestations to act within that framework. So you have multiple seeds unfolding. They don't know about each other at all. They will never connect. This is provable over time. This is something that you can experience as you log your manifestations and attempt to manifest in the middle. This is one of the reasons why it's absolutely horrendous to attempt to manifest the middle with a relationship. You are left confused, wondering why she just said, "I love you," but then suddenly turned around and went cold again, or why she asked you to go on vacation, but then stopped, or why she kissed you and then she completely vanished again. It's because you did not go to the end. And insanity follows closely after the middle. Always go to the end. When you go to the end, a bridge unfolds. Now, manifestation being within the sphere of consciousness means that the source of truth is consciousness, which is infinite. That's God. But when it gets to time space, we are in the limitations of time and space, meaning the origin itself is in its pure, unrealized form in the dimension of eternity, which means outside of time space. But as a human being, we only have the ability to experience it here if we want to. Now, we can go in the imagination and experience it there, but that's it. If we want it here, it's going to come through time and space. And so what happens is, in a natural way, because everyone is within time and space. And remember, it's not simply a single reality for me, a single reality for you. It's a shared reality with 7 billion minds. That's a very important distinction to explain this next part of manifesting, which is easily provable by you asking some simple questions. And the key here is you impress your subconscious mind by holding something within the sphere of your consciousness. And what will happen is a bridge of incidents, a series of events will unfold that will cause you to get your manifestation. That means anyone that needs to play a part will also play a part, which is the proof that they're within the same reality as yours. If they were not, then God could not be infinite. There would have to be separate consciousnesses, separate minds, separate consciousnesses, separate gods, which would mean there is where one ends and one begins. This is impossible. So the key here is now God must do and use his tools at his disposal to cause you, God's child, to get your manifestation. And the way this happens is impulses cause your specific person to think a certain way, and his thoughts stack up to cause him to act a certain way, and his actions stack up to cause events. And events themselves and experiences stack up to cause the bridge of events. And ultimately, you yourself and many others will be engaging in the same activities, the same sorts of impulses directed at the same end. There's a verse that says, all things work together. All things work together. And with that said, that is how a bridge unfolds, and you will get your manifestation in discrete pieces called events. Not time, but events. So generally, the confusion with time is that people use time as a concept, which is applied to in sort of comparing nows. So in other words, time doesn't exist. Even right now, time is not a thing. Really what's happening is I am speaking, and your mind, which is in existence, is comparing one word to the next. That gives the illusion of time. So in other words, there's no time to be removed. When people confuse and say, I'm going to remove time and manifest now, there's no time to be removed in the first place. It never existed ever. You're not removing anything. What you're doing is you're experiencing a culmination, a combination of events stacked. Remember, events are from actions, and actions are from thoughts, and thoughts are from impulses or emotions, and then impulses. Given that formula, this is how reality is created. This is how a manifestation is achieved. Now, that is the one form. The other form is through beliefs, which I will talk about in another video. But beliefs and assumptions, suffice it to say, can just as easily be created. You hold something within the sphere of your consciousness until it feels real, or it's experienced as realistic. That is the summary of the totality of how to impress the subconscious mind. And if you want to know what's on the subconscious mind, look at your reality. This is what's on your subconscious mind. The things that come out of your mouth, the people that you see, the way you're treated, your successes and failures, the way that you look, the way that you feel. This is all the subconscious. The memories that pop up, the thoughts that pop into your mind. This is how you can write down to surmise what is within the subconscious. So all in all, remember, the key to all of this is the simple building block of impressing the subconscious mind, and that is done through first depicting an end scene and second imagining, which is holding something within the sphere of your consciousness, whether that's an imaginal act with visualization, an imaginal act with just hearing, an imaginal act with just scripting, an imaginal act with just affirming. That's all that you need to do. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. Ensure that you comment. This is critical and key. So many have been gaining tremendous value from your testimonials and success stories. So much of this information has never been shared before, as the source of my information comes not from videos and books, but from personal experience. And so with that said, some of the conflicting information that I present can be very stressful to ascertain and place within the mind and reconcile current beliefs, as some of this can be considered attacks on the self. But just give your experiences to these other new viewers to let them know that they can be free. They don't have to do things a gazillion times. They don't have to always be happy. They don't always have to do anything. Just imagine, impress the mind, and that's it. And subscribe if you want to manifest in a predictable, easy, common sense, systematic way. Thank you so much.